Hey everybody, it's David Gordon from TheaterMania. I'm here with Lee Sunday Evans, the artistic director of Waterwell, and Arian Moayed, the co-founder of the company. And we're going to talk about Fleet Week Follies, which is a really cool event they have coming up this weekend to celebrate Memorial Day. It's a thing that's been going on for a few years now. And I want to ask how this whole thing got started. Whose idea? So who came up with Fleet Week Follies?
That's a good question. I mean, we were working so much. Waterwell was doing so much work with the veteran communities to begin with. And we had this really kind of amazing experience doing something called the Blueprint Specials on the Intrepid, where we took these old lost Frank Lesser musicals that have never actually been performed at all. And we resurrected them and put them on the Intrepid with a cast of like Broadway amazing folks like Will Swenson and Laura Osnes, and then and veterans that were in the cast, and that built the relationship of what we've been trying to do. And then in the midst of all that, you know, we started really digging deep into the Stage Door Canteen and what that was about in the 40s, and how at that time the theater community, especially in New York City, but all over the country, was serving active duty servicemen before, you know, that were about to fight in World War II. And so that kind of was the bridge of it all. And last year was our, you know, inaugural year at National Sawdust.
And Lee, tell me about putting the whole thing together. What will it entail for the people that are watching online this year?
Yeah. So, this is like a really beautiful idea that was conceived of at the company by Arian and Tom Ridgely, who was also one of the founders of the company and directed Blueprint Specials. And when we started designing the festival last year, we were really excited about bringing people to Brooklyn, and we really wanted to make it a space where we could kind of welcome active duty folks who are coming to New York City, some of whom are coming for the first time, into kind of like the heart of the New York arts and culture world. And then also, you know, New York City has such an enormous veteran population, and also a really enormous number of people who are in the National Guard who live in New York City all the time. And many of whom are currently deployed right now, working very intensely on the front lines of COVID-19. And so we really wanted the festival to be a place where obviously folks from the general public could also attend, but we were kind of cross-pollinating active duty folks with veterans and people who were both from New York City who could feel kind of sense of participating in these amazing performances and kind of cultural activities that we had that day. And then also bring in folks who had never been to New York before, which was a really fun experience. And, you know, like when we're in the theater world here, like we just know all these incredibly special people who, you know, are powerful storytellers and musicians and actors. And it was just really like a complete joy to kind of get to cross-pollinate these two worlds and create some new connections.
These events like these, people don't realize how long they take to put together. And I'm sure you guys had been planning for this year's edition, probably from like the end of last year's edition, more or less. At what point did you realize that you were going to have to throw all of those plans aside and then try to create something digitally for the world we're living in now?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we were all kind of in the midst of so many productions right when this all closed down. We had just done a performance of The Courtroom, our project, The Courtroom, about immigration, on the Monday of that week, before everything kind of shut down in New York. And we could really feel the tenuousness and kind of like the really hard questions going on about public gatherings already at the very top of that week. And, you know, when all this first happened, you know, it was kind of, everyone was thinking maybe it was a month, and there was a kind of slow trickle after the kind of like initial shock where it started to become clear that this was going to go on for much longer than that. And so, you know, sometime kind of in April, we really started pivoting to say, you know, how can we make something online that's going to have it's going to be really meaningful, and it's going to reach people and move people and kind of create that sense of connection part of what we want the festival to be is a place where you could meet someone new. You could
Yeah.
talk to someone who you wouldn't otherwise talk to. And that's one really hard part of the many things that are hard about this. But, the kind of limits of your social circles and the people that you interact with are even more deeply reinforced by this in a certain sense. And so we're really hoping that at the heart of it, it's an opportunity to try to, make a little bit of that same kind of magic happen.
Well, one of the things I was looking at on your site this afternoon, one of the things I actually signed up for this afternoon was a conversation like that.
Great.
Between service people, Corona, like essential workers and civilians. And I want to talk about that because that seems really cool to me, and trying to foster a connection when, sometimes nowadays, all we have is like this, or if you live alone, no one.
Yeah, I mean, excuse me. I mean, the big thing that happened last year when we were in the room was the deep amount of connections that we felt with people that we've never met before and would not have met if it wasn't for Fleet Week Follies. Veterans that have served in Vietnam. We met a World War II veteran who came and saw the show last year. And speaking with people of Blue Star Families and Dog Tag Bakery, and really just kind of like getting on the same page was so invigorating and inspiring, and like kind of like what the theater ought to be. And so, Lee has done a kind of an amazing job of bringing that idea of bringing people from from all different parts of the world together is what the Conversation Project is. I'm so glad that you signed up for. I'll have Lee jump in on it. But one of the things that Lee and the Waterwell and what Waterwell has done with this, and what we've all done with this, is we've adapted to what we have. This is our new reality. So what are we going to do? How are we going to adapt to it? And the Conversation Project is really kind of like a shining example of that. I'll have Lee speak a little bit about it.
Yeah, I think it's also, it's kind of an idea that's part of what I'm trying to grapple with in terms of what it means to put work out online in this time, because what you're missing is the opportunity of the interaction. So you put something out online and, people might comment on it, or you kind of try to understand who the audience was who experienced that piece of work online. But essentially you're missing the interaction part of it. And that's part of what makes putting work online so alien to me, because I know I've spent tens of thousands of hours in the theater thinking about how to make it like electric when people are in the same room. So the Conversation Project is, it's we always hope that theater sparks conversation and sparks dialogue, and would, bring people who might not otherwise encounter each other kind of into a closer proximity. And so, it's one part of the festival, and the other part is really focusing on performance. But I'm really thrilled, and we have an amazing kind of multifaceted range of people who've signed up. And I wish I could be in each room to just hear the little bits of conversation that will happen between all these people who, have different life experiences and have very different life experiences in the midst of the pandemic. But then also, we're all clearly also sharing so many common experiences about the struggles of this and the uncertainty. And I hope that people, come away with a real sense of strength, or just a little spark of some new energy that comes from something that someone said, or someone sharing their story, or just a little piece of that. Someone else in the conversation will stay with them.
Yeah, I'm so excited to take part in it, just because I'm trying to hear as many stories as I can. That's part of the reason why I do this every day, just to see what people's lives are like now, because I know it's important to hear what other people are going through, and that's why I'm so excited for that. I'm also excited, and I'm going to pull it up just so I don't miss anybody, but you have Freestyle Love Supreme doing a performance video, Brandon Victor Dixon, the American Military Spouses Choir. Like, it's a great lineup that you have. What is that aspect going to entail? Or is that just people recording videos that you're going to put on, the website?
They all participated in the festival last year. And so what we've done is we've taken these really powerful performances that they gave at last year's festival, and we've pulled together the footage from
cool.
last year's festival to kind of highlight each of those performances in a slightly different way. There's lots of incredible content that's being created now. But there was something, as we were going back through last year's footage, there's something so special about seeing the performers on stage and feeling the energy of the audience that was in that room, and even just the quick moments that the camera catches people responding and people applauding and people being moved. There's something that felt actually really energizing and kind of electric about seeing that footage that I think would feel different if we were living in a world where we didn't have these restrictions on going to an event like that. But in this world where we can't be in an audience like that, there's something about that was really moving to us. And those performances were phenomenal last year.
I think people are just really hungry to see a proscenium.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good question. Like, what are I will say right now, the thing I'm missing most about the theater is, outside of just like hanging out, is tech. It's like being in a tech room right now, sitting down, getting there at noon with your breakfast, and being like, where are we starting?
Yeah. Instead, you're all just doing it in front of computer screens, and you're just like getting ready 5 seconds before.
Exactly. Well, hey, I showered. There you go.
It's structure for the day. What are you both most looking forward to about Saturday's Fleet Week Follies?
I'm excited about the conversation. I'm facilitating 2 of the conversations with 2 separate military, 2 separate people from the military community. And I'm really excited about just diving in and talking to them and getting to hear how they've been kind of like dealing with COVID and seeing, to meet a bunch of strangers and talk about kindness and like how we're getting through this together is something that I'm looking forward to.
That's all I want to do now is just talk about kindness and getting through it.
Yeah, just how are we going to help each other get out of this thing? Because so I'm really looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the questions and I'm super looking forward to that. What about you, Lee?
Yeah, I think similarly, I'm really, really excited to share these performances with more people. I've had the kind of privileged position, which you often do as a director, where you get to just watch something over and over again and keep working on it, and you get so intimate with what that incredible performance work is. And so I'm really thrilled for other people to get to see these performances. And I hope they'll respond and tell us what they think and share them with their friends. And I hope they kind of make their way outside of New York, and as well as reaching a bunch of people who live here. Because there is something very, very New York about kind of like the spirit of Fleet Week Follies and the kind of classiness and kind of big-heartedness of all the performers and what they did last year. So I think that's going to be really thrilling. I'm curious to see what happens. And then, I'm just excited to see what the unexpected things are that happen in these conversations, and what unexpected connections people might feel between each other, and kind of unexpected feelings of kind of camaraderie with someone who you never knew before. So I'm really hopeful that gets to percolate.
I think I'm looking forward to that aspect the most too. And then I think that's also what I miss most about going to theater proper. Just sitting down in a room full of strangers and the collective, the collective oohs and ahs, as it were.
Yeah, I mean, there was this. Gosh, I'm trying to remember who said it first. It was either Gene Siskel, and I think it was Roger Ebert. Roger Ebert used to say, a great movie is you going into the movie theater, and for the first 2 minutes, you're like, how the hell did I get stuck behind this big head? And then a great movie, you have no idea that head was even there because you're still watching it. And so those experiences are so what I'm missing. Those are the things that, it's going to be a little bit of time before we get back into the room. But, a conversation project is a version of doing that. We did I don't want to give too much away, but we just did a test run earlier this week. And even with internally, it was just so, I don't know, tender and sweet and funny and and heartwarming. And we need that these days. This is good. Yeah. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, the website is on the flash on the screen, waterwell.org. You can find Fleet Week Follies on the web. Any last thoughts before I let you guys go?
Let's talk a little. Yeah, you firstly.
I'll just say that if anybody wants to sign up for the Conversation Project, that information is on our website, and there's a few spots left. So, you're welcome to join us. And again, it's really open to everyone. So we're kind of cultivating a multifaceted group of people, but it's open to anyone. So, and then you can see all the videos on our website this weekend and also on all of our social media.
Check us out, y'all, at Waterwell.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Arian.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Have a good afternoon, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.